Alright, before we get started on talking about parallel and perpendicular lines, we're going to do a brief review of slope. So if you remember back from algebra, to find the slope of a line, you have to figure out what x1, y1, and x2, y2 are of your two lines. And the formula for slope is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Alright, let's say for example you have the points 4, 2, and 8, 6 that make up a line. If I wanted to find the slope, I'd plug in my points, so I would do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, so that would give me 6 minus 2 over 8 minus 4. Well, that gives me 4 over 4, which reduces to 1. So that's finding the slope between 2 points. Alright, now let's say we were given the equation of a line and we wanted to figure out the slope. Remember that the equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. M represents your slope, so if you have the equation of a line is y equals 4x plus 2, then right here, the number that's attached to x is my slope, which is 4, so m is 4. So I know my slope of that line would be 4. Alright, now, but what about perpendicular and parallel lines? We're going to start with parallel. Alright, parallel lines have the same slope. So what you have to do is you have to figure out what the slopes of the lines are. Alright, so let's say for instance, you are given line 1, which has a line that goes through points negative 1, 2, and 2, 3, and then you have line 2 that goes through the point 0, 0, 3, 1. Alright, first you got to figure out the slope of the first line. So again, we're going to use our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So for line 1, my slope is 3 minus 2 over 2 minus negative 1, which is 1 over 2 plus 1, which is 1/3. Then I'm going to find the slope of my second line, so I'm going to do my y2 minus my y1 again. So I'm going to do 1 minus 0 over 3 minus 0, which gives me 1/3. Since 1/3 equals 1/3, I know that line 1 is in fact parallel to line 2. Alright, then let's say for example, I give you the equations of two lines and I want to figure out if those two lines are parallel. Again, we're going to take a look at the slope. In this example, my first line has the equation y equals 4x plus 5, and my second line has the equation y equals 4x plus 7. Right here, since my slope of the first line is 4, and the slope of my second line is 4, that means that my lines are in fact parallel. Alright, well what if I have perpendicular lines? Alright, for perpendicular lines have an opposite reciprocal slope. That means negative reciprocal. So if I had a line that had a slope of 1/3, a perpendicular line would have a slope of negative 3, because the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3, but it has to be negative. Alright, so if I had a slope of 4/3, a negative reciprocal slope would be negative 3 over 4. Alright, so let's take a look at an example. Let's say I have line 1. Let's say I have line 1 that goes to the points in negative 5, 0, and negative 3, negative 2, and also a line that goes through the points negative 2, 2, and 0, 4. Alright, so again, I need to find the slope of both of my lines. My first line, my slope would be negative 2 minus 0 over negative 3 minus negative 5, which then equals negative 2 over negative 3 plus 5, which comes out to negative 2 over 2, which equals negative 1. So the slope of my first line is negative 1. Now we have to go in and find the slope of our second line. So again, I'm going to do my y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to do 4 minus 2 over 0 minus a negative 2. That 0 minus a negative 2 becomes 0 plus 2. So my slope is 2 over 2, which is equal to 1. Well, are my slopes opposite reciprocal? This is negative 1 over 1. This one is 1 over 1. So negative 1 and 1 are in fact opposite reciprocal. So those two lines are perpendicular to each other. Alright, now let's look at the second example. Let's say y equals 4x plus 5, is my first equation of a line. My second line has the equation y equals negative 1/4 x plus 7. Alright, where the slope of my first line is 4, the slope of my second line is negative 1/4, so these are in fact opposite reciprocal. So yes, these two lines are perpendicular to each other.